Good morning, friends. Welcome all to Eng-lane, a helping hand for English grammar and high school lessons. So far, we have discussed lessons in grammar, but today we are going to discuss a lesson from the first unit of 10th grade English. So, before entering to it, let us tell you something. I think you are very happy because you have got promoted to 10th standard. It is one of the important stages of our schooling or education, but not all. Unfortunately, we cannot go to school and we can't sit with our friends and teachers. But don't worry, dears, we shall overcome. Keeping the instructions by our government and personal hygiene and the social distancing, you know that all these things are very important. We shall overcome. But you don't worry. If you watch this video from beginning to end with the prerequisites, I mean a textbook, notebook, pen and other things, you can feel that you are sitting in a real classroom. Shall we move on to the unit? The first unit is glimpses of green. What is meant by glimpse? You see, this is a glimpse of green. This is a glimpse of green. This is also a glimpse of green. Then what's a glimpse? A glimpse is a brief look or glance. A short look. In Malayalam it is minnoli or alpadarshanam. And see what is meant here by green? A grassy plain or fresh leaves, branches of trees, other plants, whatever is there around us in green, that is nature itself. So, glimpse of green can be some glimpse of nature. Now, get some more glimpses. See, watch this glimpse. What is here? What is seen in the picture? There is a plant and something nature is there, and along with that there is a man. Thus, the picture show a blend of man with nature. Whether man is the part of nature, whether we are the part of nature, we have to think on that. Okay, then from these discussions, from these glimpses you have watched, I think you might have got what is the lesson, what is this unit discussing. This is about nature. Surely, I think you have got it. That is about nature. Main theme is nature. And how is nature? We have seen the glimpses. They are wonderful, marvelous, beautiful. So, poets have written poems on that. Let us see such a simple poem, very short poem. You read it thrice or four times and shut your eyes, you will get a very beautiful picture. Okay? Now it will be almost like that. Now let us revisit and see the poem again. The mountain mist, mountain you know, mist that is vapor or liquid lingering in the air can be called mist. Hovering, lingering, floating, or the pines, that's a tree, and pine is a tree, you know, and ponds, a water body, a tank with clear water, smaller than the lakes, unveils, uncovers, remove the veils, the heaven, you know, heaven. And these are the things that we have to get from this poem. And moreover, you think of the structure. See, the mountain mist and unveils, these two lines are of same length, and this one is longer than these lines. Only three lines are there. Let us see it once again. This one, listen, this is the mist or a cloud, and pond is here, and the mist from the tip of the pine trees to mountain mist from the tip of the pine trees stretching to the pond when there is a sunlight, bright sunlight that reveals the heaven, that uncovers the heaven, that is meant by that simple poem. Do you know what type of a poem is that? That's a haiku. What is a haiku? We discussed it. First one, it has 3 lines, you remember, and there are 5 syllables. We discussed that first and third lines of same length, they have 5 syllables in the, and the second line was longer, you remember, that has 7 syllables, and it is with the naturalistic theme. That's the haiku. Syllable, you don't bother about it much. That is the smallest utterable unit in English. We can learn more about it later. Now, I think you got what's a haiku. Then why can't you try to write a haiku on nature? Please do it. You can do it. Certainly try. Now, let us have some more glimpses. Okay, I think you enjoyed the video. What are there in that picture? I mean that the picture that you got as an image of that haiku, and this video, there are many creatures, many living things, many plants, many trees. How do they live? They live in harmony. They live without harming others. Then how should we live? We too should live like that. We have seen that nature is very beautiful. Sceneries are beautiful. A wonderful sunrise is there. Wonderful sunset is there. Singing birds are there. Then is nature only for enjoying the beauty? Certainly not. Then what is that? You see, nature is not a place to visit. It's our home. Do you agree with this statement? Certainly, you will agree because you are wise children. Then why do we say so? Like all other creatures and animals and birds, nature provides us shelter. That's our home. And just as all other living things, nature must be there for our survival. Without nature we cannot survive. It provides us food, provides us everything. And God has set nature in such a way. Now, see, what may be the other things in this unit? There are 2 important conclusions. See, first one is, nature is for all living beings. That is not only for man. Man is only one of the living things or living beings. Next, man should live in harmony with the nature, in agreement with the nature. Then the sub-themes are harmony of nature and conservation of nature. I think you got this idea. Yes, in this unit, all the literary pieces, short stories, poems, and everything discusses these themes. This theme, that is nature, and the sub themes, harmony of nature and conservation of nature, which is very relevant nowadays. Now let us move on to the lessons. First one is Adventures in a Banyan Tree by Ruskin Bond. It's a short story. The Snake and the Mirror by Muhammad Bashir. That's also a short story. It is translated to English by V. Abdullah. And poem, Lines Written in Early Spring by William Wordsworth. Okay, we can move on to the first unit, Adventures in a Banyan Tree. It is written by Ruskin Bond. What is meant by an adventure? See this picture. What is this man doing? Can all of us do it? It needs risk. Some activities which involves risk can be, or involved can be called adventure. That is an encountering of risk, otherwise a remarkable occurrence. In Malayalam that can be sahasigada. Then what about banyan tree? You see, wonderful banyan trees are there. Very nice and beautiful banyan trees. I think you got it still. It is a tropical Indian fig tree, fruit tree that has figs are particular type of fruit. We will see it later. That has many aerial roots. See, this is an aerial root. These are aerial roots. You know. Then I think you got the title. Adventures in Banyan Tree means, or that maybe there may be in that lesson some adventures of someone which were there on a banyan tree or in a banyan tree. Now let us see, or let us get introduced with the author. Ruskin Bond. He is an Indian author of British descent. That means his father or grandfather, someone may be of British origin. His father was an officer at the Royal Air Force, which is a part of British Army. So yes, there are some more information, and it is given in the as hint in the worksheet attached with it, or attached to this audio video. So you can download it and you can write it. That will give you more information on him, much information on him. Okay, now nature is our home. How do we deal with our home? And think, how do we treat the inmates? You know, our home, we love our home, we like our home, we work hard for the inmates at home. Who are there at home? Our father, mother, sibling, sister, brother, we love all of them and we like all of them. Just like that, what about the nature? And again, you think when we are at home, we are happier. To be with the inmates at home, that gives us much pleasure. That is enchanting, mesmerizing. Just like that, being with one with nature is always also like that, which is our second home, mesmerizing, hypnotizing, or giving much pleasure. Have you ever got a chance to spend your leisure time with nature? Okay, you please think of that, and let us see a boy who experienced and blended with the essence of nature. Essence means the inherent part nature of something. The essence of nature is love, harmony, sympathy, empathy, and all the good qualities are there. He experienced all these things. Can we see him? This is from that story, The Adventures in Banyan Tree. See, this is that boy. What is doing? Do you know what's the relation between that is this boy and this squirrel? It is pet. How did they become close? Naturally, it may not be like that. Where does it take place? What caption can be given to this picture? Try to give a caption. Okay, you have done it. Now, to know more, let us read and find out let us read the first 3 paragraphs and find out, shall we? You don't forget to read with me. Though the house and grounds of our home in India were grandfather's domain, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb it. Grandmother used to tease him about this and would speak of a certain Countess of Desmond, an English woman who lived to the age of 117 and would have lived longer if she hadn't fallen while climbing an apple tree. The spreading branches of the banyan tree, which curved to the ground and took root again, forming a maze of arches, gave me endless pleasure. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as the town of Dara, nestling in a valley at the foot of the Himalayas. My first friend and familiar was a small grey squirrel, arching his back and sniffing into the air. He seemed at first to resent my invasion of his privacy, but when he found that I did not arm myself with a catapult or a gun, he became friendlier. And when I started leaving him pieces of cake and biscuit, it grew bolder and finally became familiar enough to take food from my hands. Before long, he was delving into my pockets and helping himself to whatever he could find. He was a very young squirrel, and his friends and relatives probably thought him headstrong and foolish for trusting a human. Okay, I think you have read it and enjoyed. You have got the answers for the questions that we cited before, haven't you? Okay, let us think of that. What is he doing? He is enjoying the company of that little creature. Do you know what's the relation between them? I think you have got it. They were friends. It is not his pet. How did they become close? I think we cannot say it without looking it, and we can discuss later and see it later. Where does it take place? It is very clear. It is in the Hirat town, in a valley at the foot of the Himalayas. What title can be given? What was the caption that you have prepared? I'll suggest one. The boy's friendship with the squirrel. Okay, yes. Shall we think of some more ideas? Who was he living with? How were they? How does he describe the banyan tree? Now, we can read the story again silently, but one thing is very important. You have to focus the ideas. Along with that, you have to focus the words. You have to note the important words. It can be entered to your personal dictionary. Okay, please read. Okay, finish reading, I think. Okay, you got all those things. Now, shall we discuss it again? Who was he living with? Let us see that part again. He was living with his grandfather and grandmother. How were they? They were very, very old, and father was 65. Grandfather was 65, and who possessed or owned all the house and grounds of their home in India? That was grandfather's, but one was not grandfather's. That was the boy's. What was that? The magnificent old banyan tree. Why was that like that? You know, grandfather was very old, so he could no longer climb the banyan tree. So the boy had maximum freedom there. Then who teased grandfather about his inability of climbing the banyan tree? That was the grandmother. How did she do so? She mentioned a certain Countess of Desmond, an English woman who lived long. She lived at the age of 170, and it is supposed to that she would have lived longer if she hadn't fallen from an apple tree. And how does he describe that banyan tree? That is magnificent old banyan tree. It has spreading branches. The branches curved to the ground, and again it took the roots, and the a maze is formed by the arches, and that gave the boy unending pleasure. Okay, how was that tree? It was older than the house and grandfather, and it was old as the town of Dara. Where is Dara? It is in a valley at the foot of Himalayas. Okay, now the second paragraph you see, listen. Who was his first friend and familiar? That was a grey squirrel. How did it come first? Arching his back, sniffing into the air. Did he like his presence first? No, it was an invasion of his privacy. Then, how did he become friendlier? Because the boy had a catapult or air gun, it became friendlier. Then, but it became closer when he gave it piece of cake and biscuit. They become closer, and it became more courageous to take food from his hands too. Okay, then later what did he do? He searched his pocket and took whatever is there to eat and drink. How was that squirrel? It was a young squirrel. What do other squirrels think of it? It is a headstrong and foolish because it has trusted a human. I think you got the things, all the answers and the things. Now try to answer the scaffolding questions. The first question is, house and grounds were of grandfather's domain, but the magnificent old banyan tree was mine. Why do the boys say so? Very nice, very simple. I think we have discussed it. Grandfather was very old, so he couldn't climb up the tree. So boy has maximum freedom there. That's why he says so. I think you know that. And how did the squirrel become a friend of the boy? We discussed it. There are two things. First one is he had no catapult and air gun, and along with that he gave it food to eat. And again, what the friends of the squirrel think about his friendship with a human? Certainly, they thought that he was foolish or a headstrong. Why? Usually, boys or children or human harms other little creatures. Okay, now let us discuss the story in detail. I know you have got all the things, but we have to discuss the lines and the expressions and the words. You have noted the words first, and you see whether there are any of these words, and you have to write down its meaning. Domain, a geographic area on or controlled by a single person. Magnificent. This is Athithanayulla sthalam, that is domain, a king's domain, an earl's domain, a man's domain. Parambu, part of there's two can be domain. Magnificent, grand, elegant, splendid in appearance, and chiefly, mainly, no longer, no more, not anymore. Tease, to poke fun at or make fun of. Count is, that is a woman holding a rank of a count in her own right, otherwise wife of a count. Repeat, you know. Spread, stretched out, stretched out. You know that. And then curve, bend, that is symbol. And nestle, to settle oneself comfortably and snugly, that is tightly. That is here situate, that is sthiti cheyuka, you know that. Now let us see what is meant by Counts of Desmond. Her real name is Catherine Fitzgerald, and she was a noblewoman of Anglo-Norman Fitzgerald dynasty in Ireland. Many English writers popularized her, giving the nickname the Old Countess of Desmond, because she lived long, because of her longevity. And there are different opinions about her life, about her length of life. Somehow in our textbook he said that 170. Okay, now I think it is clear. Now let us read and discuss it again. Though the house and grounds of our home in India were grandfather's domain, I think there is no any doubt. House and grounds of their house, their home in India were grandfather's domain. That was within the control of, within the possession of grandfather. But the magnificent, the grand old banyan tree was the boys, because chiefly, mainly because grandfather, he was 65 years old, so could no longer climb it. He cannot anymore climb on that because he is very old. Grandfather, there is grandmother, she would usually she would tease about this. She would ridicule grandfather. She would make fun of him, or she would poke fun at him about his inability of climbing up that tree. And she would mention some Countess of Desmond. We have seen her, an English woman who lived, she lived to the age of 117, and it is supposed that, believed that she would have lived longer if she hadn't climbed an apple tree. She climbed the apple tree and she fell down and she died. That is a humor there. And again, he says something about that banyan tree. The banyan tree had spreading branches. It spread its branches, and the branches curved to the ground. Again, it took roots and forming a maze, a confused passage, a confused way, or confused a confused path, a confused series of paths of arches. Arches, you know, inverted U shape is called arches. Let us see a maze later. And this sight and these things gave the boy endless, unending pleasure, happiness. And again, the tree was older than the house. It is older than the grandfather. You know, grandfather was old. It is older than the grandfather himself. And it is as old as the town of Dehra. Dehra is a town which is situated in a valley at the foot of Himalayas. I think you are happy with this. You can follow this. It's very simple. You can read it again. It will be very simple. Words should be copied, and this is a maze, a confusing network of paths. You see, here is there are many paths which are totally confusing. This is an arch. And then let us move on to the next paragraph. My first friend and the familiar. Here familiar is a noun. Let us see the words you have noted. Familiar, when it is a noun, it can be an attendant or a close friend. Sniff, you know, just like that, inhale to smell something. Resent, to express displeasure. Unhappiness, inversion, the entry without one's consent. Arm oneself with this, an idiom. Provide weapons in order to fight. Bold, courageous. Delve, to search thoroughly and carefully. And help oneself, to give oneself food or drink. Headstrong, determined without listening to others' advice or warning. Trust, to have faith in. Catapult, this is the catapult. Malayalam, that may be Tatali, slingshot in British. Right? Now, I think you have written this. Now let us revisit it. His first friend was, close friend was a grey squirrel, arching his back, bending his back, and sniffing, taking the smell into air. He seemed at first he didn't like the boy's presence because it felt that he is invading to his own privacy. privacy, we have privacy. Our room is private. When someone enters that room without our permission, we may not like it, so we resent. Just like that, in the beginning, at first, the squirrel didn't like his presence, but when he found that he was unarmed, there was not a catapult or an angle, he became friendlier, and the boy started give it piece of cake and biscuit. Then it grew bolder, more courageous, and finally became familiar enough to take food from the boy's hand. It started taking food from his hands, and before long, gradually, he was delving, he was searching, he was taking the food from his pocket and helping himself to that means get something to eat and drink, whatever he could find, whatever was there in his pocket, the squirrel would take. It became so close, and he was a very young squirrel. His friends and relatives, that is other squirrels, perhaps thought him headstrong, that means determined, not paying attention to others' advice, Thandonikan in Malayalam, and foolish for trusting a human being. He trusted a human being. Usually a human harm others. That's why they think so. I think you are very happy with this passage too. You have got everything. Now let us think of the main ideas. The story is about a boy who marvels and enjoys endless pleasure by getting close to nature. Very simple, I think. And the boy was living with his grandparents in Dehra, which is in a valley at the foot of the Himalayas, no doubt. And there was a magnificent old banyan tree on which he used to spend his leisure time. I think you have no problem. And he befriends a squirrel which often delved into his pocket, and friendship became spectacular, remarkable. Okay, next. Now let us move on to activity 2. Read it please. The boy was very much thrilled by his acquaintance with the squirrel. He writes a letter to his friend telling him about his new friend. Now help him complete the letter. Okay, yes. What is the task here? You have to write a letter. Who is writing the letter and to whom? The boy is writing to his friend. Then, what is he writing about? He is writing about his new friend. And now let us see what type of a letter will be there. It's personal format. Certainly, it is a personal letter. Then what's its format? There should be sender address, the date, salutation, body of the letter, the subscription or leave taking, and sign. Now again, you see this, the format is given there, address is there, date is there, and the salutation is there, and an introduction is there. Then what you have to do is simply filling in with the body of the letter. We know the story, we know everything about it, then why can't you write it yourself? Certainly you can write it. You write it, and a sample letter is given along with this in the worksheet. Okay? Now watch this.
Though the house and grounds belong to my grandparents, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at 65 could no longer climb it. Its spreading branches, which hung to the ground and took root again, forming a number of twisting passages, gave me endless pleasure. Among them were squirrels and snails and butterflies. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as Dehradun itself. I could hide myself in its branches, behind thick green leaves, and spy on the world below. My first friend was a small grey squirrel. Arching his back and sniffing into the air, he seemed at first to resent my invasion of his privacy. But when he found that I did not harm myself with catapults or air guns, he became friendly. And when I started bringing him pieces of cake and biscuit, He grew quite bold and was soon taking morsels from hand.
Okay, hope you have learned what you have discussed. Very nice and simple, interesting story, dears. You try to read it again and again and do all the works attached with it. Thank you for watching. There are notes and Malayalam translation is there, but you bear in your mind English will be learned listening to English itself, but you can download it and you can hear it just to ensure your comprehension. Thank you all again.